My course is for teacher ed, and it is in an integrated online course with actual practicum out in the schools, because the students are getting practice, real world practice in 2 schools in the area. So we have students that will be at West Terrace Elementary on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then they are at Joshua Academy on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So this was the first. This year, they're there both Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I can't be in schools both places at the same time. So anyway, we've changed that. But I've set my course up similar to everyone else. I have 4 modules, and if you notice, I have like week 1 is just, module 1 is just 1 week. Module 2 consists of weeks 2, 3, and 4. Then module 3 is the bulk of the semester with weeks 5 through 15, where they're doing the same thing. They're out in the schools and actually implementing and discussing. And then week 16, which I found out is only 2 days long, I was putting the calendar in a while ago, is the final week and their final project. I start with, we'll go back to start here. I have the introduction and a welcome from me, and then the course overview, talking about how to look at Blackboard site, and then going through the syllabus and the calendar. So all of that is on under the start here. The rest of the weeks, I have a module overview, or the rest of the modules. I have a module overview, which the students will watch, and then each week is set up the exact same. We have a what to do. They have their to-do list. So they're, what they're going to read, what videos they're going to watch, what they have to complete, what they have to participate in, and what the assignments are. And then the rest of the folder has all of the information that they need to be able to accomplish all of the assignments. Like both of you, my modules over here, I have the other information that the students need. This was a discussion board, but we didn't use discussion board for anything else, so except for this one assignment, so I changed it to just that, a name, so they don't get confused with the discussion board. They do have journal assignments, their other resources, and then like Marco, you have their email and their grades so that they can get to it quickly. So all of the weeks again, each week has the to-do list, so they know exactly what they have to do. My course is heavy on the front with reading and what they need to do, like, because for their education, I'm teaching them how to unpack, where to find the state standards. And so I have a video where they go through and I show them the Indiana DOE website, because I tell them to go there, but sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So I actually did a Zoom video of going to the DOE website, and then I show them how to unpack those standards, because if you've looked at the state standards, there's 25 things listed in one standard, so you don't teach it all at once. So I've talked to them about breaking it down into target skills, and then writing what we call proficiency statements, or in the schools they call them ICANN statements. What are the students going to be able to do? Very similar to what we did that first part of our, in our first sections. You look at the standards, what are we going to do? So that part of it was all familiar. It was like, oh, I've done this. But so like I said, it's heavy on the first 3-4 weeks with getting that background information. We have a department template for what our teacher lesson plans need to look like. So I go through that with them and did a Zoom presentation of how to. This is the teacher ed website. What the teacher ed lesson plan looks like. Oh, got to go back to the right module. 3 or 4. I think it's 4. Remembering what's in what module week is, yeah. So I show them the teacher ed template and talk them through what is expected, what they should be putting in each of those spots on the template. And then after that, I have them, one of their assignment is to actually, from our proficiency plan, when they've looked at standards, take one of the standards and break it apart and then design a lesson plan to teach that standard. They post it on the discussion board, and then I have a rubric for peer editors. So then the other students go in, pick one, and edit their lesson plan. And they get points for, there's the rubric, and then they get points for doing the editing. So it's just a practice and making them look at somebody else's lesson plans as well. So basically, all of my weeks are the same. They have, if they have a reading assignment, they do a voice thread of their thoughts about that reading assignment. We have 2 books that I use. One is called Best Practices, because in education, we want our students to think about what constitutes best practices and where do you find the research behind that. So we read that book, and then I have a book called The 20 Most Common Mistakes That Teachers Make. And it's a lot of it is you were talking earlier about assuming that they know. Well, that's the number one mistake teachers make. We assume students know what to do. And so my students I get a lot of good feedback about reading this book. And it was actually given to me by one of the principals in one of the area schools, because she was requiring her school, the whole school was using that book to read a couple years ago. Because she says, I can go down through every one of these mistakes and write a teacher's name beside them. And so, we want the kids to be aware, and that's what my students are saying. Now that they're aware of it, they either see it not being made, and they're consciously looking for how it's being avoided. So those are the 2 textbooks. And then as in weeks 5 through 15, about week 3, they get their assignment and start going into the classrooms consistently every day. But they will be reading the chapters in that mistakes book, and then discuss on a voice thread. Instead of having them write, I have them talk on the voice thread about their reaction to the reading, summarize it, and then tell an example of how they've seen it avoided. Or sometimes, one of the students talked about her elementary teacher. There's one mistake is where we discourage kids from participating in class, and just by our tone of voice or how we respond to their questions. And she said, I stopped asking questions after my 4th grade class because my teacher degraded me or said, and so, they start, they really make the connections. So that's the overview. Again, it's just, we tell them what to do and what they are needing to do each week, and it all looks very, very similar. I kept it, like you said, keeping it so that when they open that folder, they know that they're going to see their to-do list. They're going to have all of the material that they need for their assignments are all there. And I thank goodness for Laura, because this peer lesson plan review, we were Larissa, not Laura. We were, I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. And it was like, well, we could do this. And we tried it one way, and I still couldn't wrap my head around it. She said, okay, then we'll do it this way. And then she did step by step how to do it, and even put in a tutorial. So we've got, they've got everything they need. They ought to be able to accomplish it. So, and then the big assignment for this course, again, I don't have it, like you, there are no exams because this is a practical application. The reflection part is the important part for this course. And the other part is they do a unit plan where they have to design 3 consecutive lessons that the teachers have to agree to allow them to teach their 3 consecutive lessons. They don't have to agree to let it be a whole class. It could be a small group, but they have to be able to actually teach their lessons, because for so many of our classes, we require them to develop a lesson plan, but they don't ever get to teach them to anybody but their peers. And so now they get to see, and I've had this is my second semester to actually use this unit plan as an assignment, and the feedback from the fact that they, one of the girls said, it's the first time I've ever seen that it worked or it doesn't work. She says, I had 3 lessons, 2 of them worked and 1 of them bombed. And it was, and she said it was such a good experience to actually, and she says, and the one that bombed was the one that I thought was going to be the best. So, it's a good opportunity for them. So, like I said, my course is a little different than the other courses in that, I actually will see my students face to face. I did incorporate an introduction piece in here so that I ask them to introduce themselves on a voice thread, but I'll see them face to face in the schools. And something else that I use, I don't know if you, for your face-to-face classes, if you've ever heard of it, it's called Remind. And it's a way to text your students, and you just go to remind.com, and then let me pull up, it's in my syllabus. But I have, once you establish your account, you can set up however many classes you have, and then all of the students have to do is they sign in and they go on they just text, going to write a text, and they use my number 81010, and then depending on which course they're in, they text at ED382 or at 382J, and that will put them in the correct course. So when they sign up for it, if something like school's closed, for some reason, or to remind them that we're meeting on campus today instead of in the buildings, I can send them a text, and then they also can text me without having my cell phone number, and I don't have their cell phone numbers. And I used it when I was teaching in the elementary schools. I found this, and I used it and I had my parents sign up for it so that the parents could text me. Well, at that time, when it first came out, I could only text them. They couldn't respond to me. But I could send them a text and say, remember, Johnny has a social studies test on Friday, and without them knowing what my cell phone number was. And so I could send them reminders, or the field trip signatures need to be done. Now they've upgraded it where I can even do individuals. It's not always a group. But it's a really cool thing. And for me to be able to let the kids know if I'm sick and I'm not going to be there in the school, they need to know that I won't be observing them that day, that they can contact me that way. So here's in my syllabus, I did put a picture of the 2 books that are required, and all of my assignments are listed. So any questions? Again, I'm going to echo, thank you so much for the support. When I first started doing this, I was scared to death because one of our instructors, or the doctors in the upstairs, said, you're doing the online course development? And I said, yes. And she said, it was the hardest thing I ever did. And I thought, and you have your PhD? You did a dissertation, and this is harder than that? I was a little nervous, but Larissa's made it wonderful and so easy. And
She can be
yeah. So, but that's my course.
All right. Good.
Good. Can I say something?
Yeah.
You know, something that you mentioned could be part of feedback is that a lot of material has been designed by Laura, you know, when helping us. You, Laura, have done, like you mentioned, the peer review video.
Mhm.
So my suggestion would be perhaps have a central location, like a library or something like that.
We are putting that together.
Oh,
That would be
All of
fun.
ours, because right now we have some here and some over there. And some
Because it's
here.
a lot of work. At the end, it's work, good work, quality work. That then why to do that again?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So
I
yeah,
don't know.
we are working.
Whatever you consider, oh, this is a contribution. This is something that they should be able, you know, or we should be able, you know, to show it. And perhaps in those workshops, you know, hey guys, don't forget that we have this, we have developed this when helping other, you know, faculty. I don't know.
And we're putting together a pretty good database of
Yeah.
tutorials. All right, well, thank you all for coming. I know, Connie, you.
Thank you for the lunch. Thank you.
But thank you, and again, any other feedback or anything, we are always open. And even though we're done with the online course development program, you're welcome to our office anytime with any help for anything.
Give me like
Okay? I may regret
a
saying
week or
that.
something with the computer.
Yes.
Because I'm still working with Laura.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever time you
And
need.
so you
Thank you.
Others might have less use now for the summers.
Thank you.